travel back to 1987 and see where the iconic cast of The Lost Boys is now in 2025. In 1987, at 21, Jason Patric captivated audiences as Michael, the rebellious teen lured into a vampire gang in The Lost Boys. Fresh off his debut in Solar Babies in 1986, his brooding intensity and charm made him a standout in Joel Schumacher's 1987 cult classic. Interesting fact, Patric turned down the lead in the firm to focus on theater, showing his dedication to craft over fame. Now, in 2025, at 59, Jason Patric continues to shine in film and theater. He starred in Armor with Sylvester Stallone and the horror hit Terrifier 3 in 2024. His selective roles cement his reputation as a versatile, respected actor. In 1987, at 16, Corey Haim brought infectious charm to Sam, the comic-loving younger brother in The Lost Boys. Already a teen heartthrob from roles in Firstborn and Lucas, his witty delivery and chemistry with Corey Feldman made him a fan favorite in 1987. Interesting fact, Haim's iconic "Death by Stereo" line was improvised, adding to the film's cult status. Now, sadly, Corey Haim passed away in 2010 at 38 from natural causes, complicated by a history of substance abuse. His legacy endures through 80s classics and his beloved partnership with Feldman in The Two Coreys, remembered fondly by fans worldwide. At 39, Dianne Wiest portrayed Lucy, the warm, caring mother in The Lost Boys. An acclaimed actress, she'd won an Oscar for Hannah and Her Sisters in 1986, bringing depth to her role in Joel Schumacher's 1987 vampire classic. Interesting fact, Wiest was handpicked by Schumacher for her ability to convey emotional authenticity, grounding the film's supernatural chaos. Now, in 2025, at 77, Dianne Wiest remains a revered figure in acting. She won a second Oscar for Bullets Over Broadway and recently starred in Mayor of Kingstown. Her stage work and selective screen roles continue to earn critical praise. In 1987, at 72, Barnard Hughes played the eccentric, taxidermy-loving grandpa in The Lost Boys, delivering quirky humor to the 1987 horror comedy. A Tony and Emmy winner, he'd starred in Midnight Cowboy and The Hospital, with a Broadway career spanning over 400 roles. Interesting fact, Hughes changed his first name from Bernard to Barnard on a numerologist's advice to boost his acting career. Sadly, Barnard Hughes passed away in 2006 at 90 from natural causes, just days before his 91st birthday. His legacy lives on through iconic roles like Duh and TV appearances in All in the Family and Blossom. In 1987, at 44, Edward Herrmann portrayed Max, the deceptive head vampire in The Lost Boys, adding sly charm to the 1987 cult classic. A seasoned actor, he'd earned Emmy nominations for Eleanor and Franklin and was known for roles in The Paper Chase. Interesting fact, Herrmann's refined demeanor led to him narrating over 100 History Channel documentaries, including his favorite, The Civil War. Sadly, Edward Herrmann passed away in 2014 at 71 from brain cancer. His legacy endures through beloved roles like Richard Gilmore in Gilmore Girls and his Emmy-winning guest appearance on The Practice, cherished by fans worldwide. In 1987, at 20, Kiefer Sutherland electrified audiences as David, the charismatic vampire leader in The Lost Boys. Already a rising star from Stand By Me and The Bay Boy, his intense performance in 1987 made him an 80s icon. Interesting fact, Sutherland performed many of his own stunts, including hanging from a bridge, to capture David's wild energy. Now, in 2025, at 58, Kiefer Sutherland remains a powerhouse in Hollywood. His Emmy-winning role as Jack Bauer in 24 defined a generation. Recent roles include Designated Survivor and the Caine Mutiny Court-Martial, with ongoing projects in film and TV keeping him in the spotlight. In 1987, at 22, Jami Gertz played Star, the enigmatic love interest in The Lost Boys, captivating audiences with her ethereal charm. Coming off roles in 16 Candles and Solar Babies, her performance in 1987 added heart to the vampire classic. Interesting fact, Gertz was considered for the lead in Footloose, but chose smaller roles to hone her craft early on. Now, in 2025, at 59, Jami Gertz balances acting with philanthropy. Known for Twister and Still Standing, she's married to billionaire Anthony Ressler and co-owns the Atlanta Hawks. She focuses on charity work, with occasional roles in projects like I Want You Back. In 1987, at 16, Corey Feldman shone as Edgar Frog, the vampire-hunting teen in The Lost Boys. A child star from Gremlins and The Goonies, his tough guy energy and chemistry with Corey Haim earned him a Young Artist Award in 1987. Interesting fact, Feldman's punk-inspired look as Edgar was his own idea, shaping the character's iconic style. Now, in 2025, at 53, Corey Feldman remains active in indie films and music. He reprised Edgar in Lost Boys sequels, The Tribe and The Thirst. A vocal advocate against child abuse in Hollywood, he continues performing and speaking out, maintaining a dedicated fan base. In 1987, at 17, Jamison Newlander played Alan Frog, the vampire-hunting brother in The Lost Boys, bringing gritty determination to the 1987 cult hit. A teen actor with commercials and theater experience, his chemistry with Corey Feldman made the Frog brothers iconic. Interesting fact, Newlander wore leg braces from ages 7 to 9 due to a medical condition, initially inspiring him to pursue orthopedic surgery before acting took over. Now, in 2025, at 55, Jamison Newlander continues acting and writing. He reprised Alan in Lost Boys, The Thirst, and appeared in Bone Tomahawk. A playwright and creator of Wikisoap, he's working on his play The Virtual Adventures of Rifkat Polito. In 1987, at 24, Brooke McCarter played Paul, a wild vampire in The Lost Boys, adding reckless energy to the 1987 horror comedy. A former model and racquetball champion, he debuted in Thrashin' in 1986, with The Lost Boys as his breakout role. Interesting fact, McCarter managed co-star Corey Haim in the 1990s and co-directed a documentary short about him, Me, Myself, and I. Sadly, Brooke McCarter passed away in 2015 at 52 from alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, a genetic liver disorder. His legacy lives on through The Lost Boys, horror convention appearances, and his work as a drummer and documentary filmmaker. In 1987, at 25, Billy Wirth played Dwayne, the brooding, silent vampire in The Lost Boys, adding mystery to the 1987 cult classic. A former model and Columbia University graduate, he debuted in 7 Minutes in Heaven before landing his iconic role. Interesting fact, Wirth studied acting with Stella Adler in New York, which shaped his intense, understated performance as Dwayne. Now, in 2025, at 63, Billy Wirth continues acting and directing. He starred in Eternal Code and appeared in FBI, Most Wanted. Also a musician and artist, he directs indie projects and shares his photography, maintaining a loyal fan base from his Lost Boys days. In 1987, at 22, Alex Winter played Marco, the stylish vampire with a killer mullet in The Lost Boys, adding flair to the 1987 cult classic. A Broadway veteran from The King and I, he was a film student at NYU when cast, marking his big screen breakout. Interesting fact, Winter auditioned for David, but director Joel Schumacher chose him for Marco, loving his theatrical energy. Now, in 2025, at 60, Alex Winter thrives as an actor and filmmaker. He starred in Destroy All Neighbors in 2024 and directed Adulthood, set for release in 2025. He'll return to Broadway with Keanu Reeves in Waiting for Godot. In 1987, at 11, Chance Michael Corbitt played Laddie, the young vampire dependent on Star in The Lost Boys. His debut role in the 1987 cult classic showcased his ability to convey innocence amidst darkness, stealing scenes in Joel Schumacher's horror comedy. Interesting fact, the original script had Laddie as 14, but it was changed to 11 to match Corbitt's age, making his character more vulnerable. Now, in 2025, at 49, Chance Michael Corbitt leads a private life but attends horror conventions, like Washington State HorrorCon in 2024. After roles in Pumpkinhead and The Rocketeer, his last film was Hallows' Eve in 2013. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.